Today on Retiring Well with Centennial Wealth Advisory, we are asking the question, do you have a ticking tax bomb in your portfolio?
And unfortunately, guess what? The answer is almost certainly yes, you do. You probably do. And that's what we're going to talk about this week.
What is this ticking tax bomb and what can you do today in order to protect your assets from unnecessary taxation in the future?
Do you have money in any of those retirement types of accounts? Well, if so, then yes, you've got a tax bomb ticking, because every one of those accounts shares something in common.
All of this and more on Retiring Well with Centennial Wealth Advisory, starting right now.
Retiring Well with Centennial Wealth Advisory, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Centennial Wealth Advisory, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. We have got a fantastic show lined up for you this week. We are asking the question, do you have a ticking tax bomb in your portfolio? And unfortunately, guess what? The answer is almost certainly yes, you do. You probably do. And that's what we're going to talk about this week. Now, of course, before I do that, I just want to take a quick moment and share with you why we do this show. I believe your best is yet to come. I believe the second half of life is going to be fantastic. It gives you the time. That's a time in life where you can pursue activities that provide meaning and fulfillment. You spend time with the grandchildren, you travel, you volunteer, maybe you pursue that, that dream career, whatever it is. They all are all about pursuing what is meaningful and fulfilling. Now, of course, if you're going to do those things, they all cost money, then you got to make smart choices. You have to make smart choices with your money so that you're in good shape for the rest of your life, at least financially speaking. Now, the problem, though, is that almost all of the financial media, what do they talk about? Well, they talk about how do you grow a portfolio? What stock should you buy this week? They never seem to talk about which stock you should sell, of course, just what should you buy? How do you grow that portfolio? Well, here's the problem. The set of skills that you need to grow and accumulate a portfolio, that's very different from the set of skills that you need to protect your portfolio once you've reached the stage of financial independence, to protect that money, to take income, and still grow it a little bit. I remember when my dad retired, what did he tell me? Mike, I want you to protect my principal, give me some income, and if possible, grow it a little bit. Well, that's the job that you have once you hit retirement or once you hit the state of financial security. Most people, they're either retired or getting pretty close by the time they get to that point. This show is all about helping you make smart choices for that second half of your life. All right, let's jump into this week's topic. Do you have a tax time bomb ticking in your portfolio? Well, let me ask you another question. Do you have money in a 401k, in a 403b, an IRA, 457, SEP IRA, Simple IRA? Do you have money in any of those retirement types of accounts? Well, if so, then yes, you've got a tax bomb ticking, because every one of those accounts shares something in common. They all represent money that's never been taxed. Now, think about this for a minute. What's our national debt today? If you go to usdebtclock.org, they'll tell you, they'll show you in live running numbers, if you've been watching this show, you've seen it, that it's currently about $19 trillion, getting close to $20 trillion. Now, here's another interesting question. Do you know how much money happens to be in 401ks and 403bs and IRAs throughout the country? I mean, if you take all the money in IRAs and 401ks and 403bs, you know how much money is in all those accounts? Guess what? It's also about $19, $20 trillion. Now, that is so the government has a national debt of 19-20 trillion with a T. And then over here, we have 19 to 20 trillion dollars in accounts that have never been taxed. Never been taxed. Now, I have a question for you. What do you think? Do you think the government knows about that money over there that's never been taxed? You bet they do. They know all about it, and they can't wait to get their paws on that money. That's why you're often seeing them talking about how can we tax these retirement accounts at higher levels. If you have money in those retirement accounts, that's a tax time bomb. It's just ticking away. And you want to make sure you're making smart choices so that you don't get hammered. Now, don't go anywhere. Coming up after the break, I'm going to give you a real-life example of what I'm talking about.
Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility. How to plan your retirement, the best ways to generate lifetime income, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the difference between retirement advisors and Wall Street advisors, why getting a second opinion may be your most important financial decision, and much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, August 16th or Wednesday, August 17th at Trulux in the Arboretum. Wednesday, September 7th or Thursday, September 8th at Steiner Ranch Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 512-265-5000 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 512-265-5000 today.
Welcome back. We're talking about the question, do you have a ticking tax bomb in your portfolio? And what do we say? If you have a 401k, a 403b, an IRA, or any similar type of account, then guess what? Yeah, you've got a ticking tax bomb, almost certainly. And the problem is our national debt is 19-20 trillion. There's 19-20 trillion in these accounts. It's not gonna, the government sees it. They're asking, how do we get some of that money and how do we get it quicker? Well, one of the things that I think never seems to happen is that financial advisors, I believe, do a very poor job in helping you to understand the future of your IRA from a tax perspective, probably because they just ignore taxes for the most part. But you know, I heard someone say, and at one point they said, you know, financial planning is really nothing more than making sure the road you're on is taking you to the destination you want to arrive at. I don't remember who said it, so you know, I'm just going to go ahead and take credit for saying it myself, I guess. But anyway, the point is, we want to know from a tax perspective, what is the road that your IRA is on? What destination is it taking you to? So I have in my hands a spreadsheet. Looks like this. Don't worry, we'll bring it up on the front, on the big screen there so you can see it better. But here's what's going on in this spreadsheet. Before we bring it up, let me just share with you what's happening. Here we have an example of someone who's 65 years old. They're retiring, say. And let's pretend they've got $1 million in their IRA. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? And we'll pretend that they're earning 5% a year. So it's not like they're hitting home runs. They're just consistently earning 5%. On this spreadsheet, we're also going to assume that they only take out what they're forced to take out. So they're not going to pull out any money until they hit the age of 70 and a half, which is when they have to start taking required minimum distributions. And each year, they're just going to pull out whatever the minimum is. Now, you know we're all living longer. We're going to assume that this person here lives to their 90. So let's find out, and by the way, that's pretty typical these days. So let's find out what the future is on this IRA. So as we bring this up on the big screen, what you see here is it's starting with $1 million. It just grows for 5 years. And by the time they're 70 and it's time to start taking required minimum distributions, they've grown that million up to 1.276 million, almost 1.3 million. They now have to start taking required distributions. The first year, they've got to pull out $46,580. And every year, that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger. By the time they're in their late 70s, they're pulling $72,000 a year. They get into their 80s, they're pulling $80,000, $82,000, $85,000, $88,000, $90,000 is their required minimum distribution. Think about that. When are they pulling out these big chunks of money? Are they pulling them out today? No, they're pulling those big chunks out later, which is in this case 20 years from now. Where are tax rates going to be 20 years from now, do you think? With a national debt of $19, $20 trillion, do you think the tax rates are just going to stay the same? Or do you think they might go up a little bit? I can promise you they're going to be going up. So here these folks are, they're pulling out these big chunks of money later on when tax rates are higher. Does that sound like a good plan? Let's pull out more money when tax rates are high. Let's pull out less money today when tax rates are low. But that's what's going on, and that's maybe what you're doing right there. Now, if we add up, so from age 70.5 to age 90 each year, that's 20 years of pulling out a minimum distribution. If we add up all those minimum distributions, look what we find. This person is forced, at a minimum, to withdraw and pay tax on $1.4 million. Now remember, this is a $1 million IRA. They're paying tax on $1.4 million. And then they die. They leave this IRA, let's say they leave it to their children. There's still $1.1 million left in that IRA, which ends up being taxable to the children. You do the math, $1.4 million to these folks, $1 million to the kids, 1.1, that's $2.5 million taxable distributions on an IRA worth $1 million. What's a tax in $2.5 million? It's a big number. This, my friends, is a tax bomb. All right, folks, I want you to pay attention to me right now. I have a very special offer. If you're one of the first 10 people to call, and our number right here, 512-265-5000. If you're one of the first 10 people to call and you've saved at least $250,000 for your retirement, we will provide for you at no charge, no obligation, your own personalized retirement roadmap. In this roadmap, we help you take a look at where you stand currently with the risks that you're taking with your portfolio, the fees. What are you paying your advisors, both the fees you see and the fees you don't see? What about a retirement income stress test? Will your money last? We also run a tax analysis, a Social Security analysis. This is something you absolutely want. It tells you exactly where you stand with your retirement planning. It's absolutely free, no obligation, but you must be one of the first 10 people to call at 512-265-5000. Call now.
Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility. How to plan your retirement, the best ways to generate lifetime income, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the difference between retirement advisors and Wall Street advisors, why getting a second opinion may be your most important financial decision, and much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, August 16th or Wednesday, August 17th at Trulux in the Arboretum. Wednesday, September 7th or Thursday, September 8th at Steiner Ranch Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 512-265-5000 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 512-265-5000 today.
Welcome back. This week we are talking about IRAs as potentially a ticking tax bomb. And one of the things that we can do if we don't like where those IRAs are taking us, you can, I can, all of us can do what are called Roth conversions. And what I want to do is share with you kind of what they are, why we think Roth conversions may make sense, and how they work. So let's imagine this. Let's imagine you have money, you've got money in a 401k or an IRA or a 403b. And for the sake of discussion, let's imagine you have, I don't know, maybe 500,000 there. You might have more, you might have less. Let's use 500 as our number. And the reason, now you've done a good job saving, that's good, but it's all in this tax-deferred environment. And what that means is you haven't paid any tax on this money and it's growing. And as we saw in our previous segment though, at some point you're forced to take distribution, it's usually age 70 and a half, and over time that can add up to a lot of money. And so what you think you're going to do, or what you decide, is you say, I don't want to take that path, I want to take a different path. I want to take money out sooner, and maybe what you want to do, and what makes sense in a lot of cases, is maybe you want to do what's called a Roth conversion. Now, what does that mean and why do we want to do it? So a Roth conversion is nothing more than the process of moving either some or all of the money that you have in these types of accounts over to a Roth IRA. Now, why do we like to have money in a Roth IRA? What's the big benefit? It's right here. Once you have money moved into a Roth IRA, that money is tax-free for the rest of your life. All the growth is tax-free, distributions are tax-free. It's a tax-free world. It's tax-free for you, and when you die, if it goes to a surviving spouse, it's tax-free for your spouse for the rest of their lives too. Then, after you're both gone, when it's time to pass that money along to other beneficiaries, it is a tax-free distribution to them. So they get that money tax-free. So we go from a world here, a category, where you are going to be forced to pull money out, it's going to be taxed at your highest tax bracket, it's going to cause tax on Social Security and all kinds of problems, to a world where it is completely tax-free. So all of us, as you're looking at this, I'm sure you're asking yourself the question, well, gosh, Mike, that seems like a no-brainer. What's the downside? Why wouldn't I just take all my money here and move it over here? That makes perfect sense. Well, the problem, there's always a disadvantage. The problem is this. In the year that you move money from here, from these types of accounts, over here, the year that you do that, you're going to owe tax on the amount of money you move. So let's imagine, for the sake of discussion, you decide you're going to move $50,000 this year from your IRA or 401k, etc., and you're going to move it to a Roth IRA. Let's imagine that. Well, what's going to happen? Hey, good news. You got that $50K moved over here. That's fantastic. But now you're going to owe tax in that year on an additional $50,000 of income. So whatever your tax bracket is, you're going to owe tax on 50 grand. Now, that might be okay because, you ever have a Band-Aid? What happens? You can rip it off really fast and the pain is quick and over, or you can just peel it off a little bit at a time. Which way do you take? Well, if you're like most people, you just rip that baby right off, right? Here's the thing. When you keep it here and you just do minimum distributions, you're taking that Band-Aid off just a little bit at a time. When you do Roth conversions, it's the equivalent of ripping it off. Every year you should be looking at how much of a conversion you can do. You want to get as much money here, over here, and you want to do it as fast as you can. All right, folks, I want you to pay attention to me right now. I have a very special offer. If you are one of the first 10 people to call, and our number right here, 512-265-5000. If you're one of the first 10 people to call and you've saved at least $250,000 for your retirement, we will provide for you at no charge, no obligation, your own personalized retirement roadmap. In this roadmap, we help you take a look at where you stand currently with the risks that you're taking with your portfolio, the fees. What are you paying your advisors, both the fees you see and the fees you don't see? What about a retirement income stress test? Will your money last? We also run a tax analysis, a Social Security analysis. This is something you absolutely want. It tells you exactly where you stand with your retirement planning. It's absolutely free, no obligation, but you must be one of the first 10 people to call at 512-265-5000. Call now.
Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility. How to plan your retirement, the best ways to generate lifetime income, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the difference between retirement advisors and Wall Street advisors, why getting a second opinion may be your most important financial decision, and much more. Choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, August 16th or Wednesday, August 17th at Trulux in the Arboretum. Wednesday, September 7th or Thursday, September 8th at Steiner Ranch Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 512-265-5000 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 512-265-5000 today.
All right, this week we're asking banks a really fun question. That is banks, and this is the question we get all the time. Banks, puppy banks, am I too old to do a Roth conversion? We get that question all the time. Maybe you are asking yourself that question. Are you too old to do a Roth conversion? How old is too old to do a Roth conversion? You know, that's a great question. Actually, Banks and I were out going for a walk one day, and that's exactly what we were talking about. You know, and walking with Banks, by the way, is remember the Marmaduke cartoons where, you know, you're like this and the dog's dragging you? Yeah, that's walking with Banks for the first half of the walk, and then the second half, it's me dragging her because she's pooped out. Anyway, y'all know how puppies are, right? Anyway, are you too old to do a Roth conversion? Let's go ahead and answer that question for you. You see, as Banks and I were talking about it, it all depends, this is what we decided, it really all depends on what's the purpose of the money? What's the purpose of the money? So let's imagine, for the sake of discussion, that you're in a position where you've got an IRA, you're only going to pull the minimum distributions, you're probably not going to pull anything other than that, and let's be honest, that money, or a big chunk of that money, is probably going to your kids or grandchildren or something like that. If you are in that position, then a Roth conversion makes sense at any age. Any age. And here's why. You know, you've always probably heard this. You need the longer time horizon you have for your Roth to be in place, the more the conversion makes sense, right? When time is on your side, the younger you are when you do it, the better it is for you, right? You've all heard that. Well, think about it this way. If that money is ultimately going to your children or grandchildren, then the analysis is not based on your age, is it? It's based on their age, on the age of your children, on the age of your grandchildren. So does it make sense to do a Roth conversion when we're basing the analysis on the age of your children and grandchildren? Of course it does. You almost can't be too old. I mean, your age doesn't matter anymore. So no, in that example, you would not be too old to do a Roth conversion. You could be 85 years old, it would still make sense. Now, on the other hand, let's imagine you have no children at all. Maybe you're not even married. Maybe you're single or divorced. And your IRA or 401k, it's for you. It's only for you. Well, in that situation, your age, does come into play. Because then you want to run an analysis and you want to say, okay, how long are you likely to live? And then you start adding up. What is the tax liability that you would likely pay during your lifetime? After you're gone, if there's money left in the IRA, you don't care who pays the taxes on that because it's probably going brothers, sisters, a charity. Who cares? It's not your kids. It's not your grandchildren. So you want to say, well, how much would you likely pay during your lifetime? Then you start looking at different Roth conversion schedules and you figure out, okay, how much would you pay to convert the IRA to a Roth over time? And you compare those two numbers. And it's simply cost benefit. Which is cheaper? Paying now, paying later. Simple as that. So one of these questions that often come up of, am I too old to do a Roth conversion? I hear that from people in their 50s or even in their 60s. I mean, think about this. People are living into their 90s these days. Even if you're 65, you got to figure another 25 years of life. That's a long time for that conversion to be helpful, even if the analysis is just about you. That's a long time, 25 years. You've got to assume you're going to live a reasonable lifetime, and you do the math. So folks, that's the answer. Are you too old to do a Roth conversion? It all depends. Remember, is the money going to be all for you? Is it likely to go to children, grandchildren? That will impact the analysis. So banks did a great job helping me out with that one. All right, folks. So there you go. That's our show this week. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, I hope you have a great weekend, and make sure you tune in next week as well. Take care, everybody.